Welcome to the show as we traverse yesterday and today, hint, hint, finding ourselves in studio with multi-instrumental talent, hard rock and bass player, songwriter, recording engineer, producer, and solo artist, Aaron Leigh. Aaron, thanks for joining us tonight. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Guido. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. I love the space you're coming to us from, man. It looks funky. I like it.
Yeah, this is a room in my house that back in the live stream days when we couldn't play in venues, I was doing live streams out of here and so I had to have a spot. So it's still coming in use. It's great.
Did you put it together? Is this your concept or
My wife had the concept and then I threw a couple things in the room.
the pillows? You threw the pillows, right? You're the
I
pillow
actually
guy.
put the lamps. I put these lamps right here. Yeah. This actually the green one over here, my mother gave to me, and I've had it in my life, literally my whole life before I was
Oh,
born. So somehow it's still with me. It's crazy.
that's
Anyway,
awesome. I love stuff like that. That's great. That's
yeah,
right on. Thanks, Mom. That's cool.
yeah.
Um, so Aaron, look, like you're one of these guys who seemingly, and the room tells it, that you were born to be an artist. You've got stories of playing instruments since you were 5 years old. You made your way through drums, guitars, eventually bass. But what inspired you to stick with the bass as your instrument of musical pleasure at some point?
I think it just came down to a sort of like a default when I was a kid, when in my neighborhood there was a lot of musicians when I was growing up. So in our early teens, we wanted to make a band. We wanted to have a band, but everybody played guitar. And there was a drummer around the corner from me that played better drums than me at the time. And so it kind of just defaulted to bass for me. I said, "Sure, I'll try out some bass." And once I started playing some bass, I felt the power of the bass. It's a very powerful instrument. And when then I discovered, Rush and Iron Maiden, and listening to Paul McCartney play, and starting to single out the bass in the mixes of some of my favorite records, and thinking, "Wow, man, this is a cool instrument. I can get down with this." And as soon as I started learning Rush songs, man, it was all over. It was like, "All right, I'm all in now. I'm a bass player."
That's right on. Rush referenced. I love that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Um, no, and so you go with that instrument, and does it become easier? Like when you're focused on one instrument, does it become easier to pick it out in the songs that you're listening to?
Well, it just depends on the mix of
Mm.
what you're listening to, how they mix the bass in there. And one thing that really stuck out to me with Rush records, Iron Maiden records, and even Y&T records is the bass was right up front. So you can hear every note that's being played, and it's its own thing going on. Uh, so that really kind of opened up the door to, wow, okay, this is its own trip along with everything else that's going on. I can hear that and I like that. So, that's when I started
So
learning Y&T songs, just pulling out bass riffs, Phil Kennemore's classic bass riffs.
some bass roots, and we're going to talk about a little Y&T in a bit here. You've dropped some other names there, and I know in the past you've also talked about Bowie and the Beatles and T-Rex as being some of your early influences in your musical journey. And I guess they remain some sort of mainstay, like as they should, right, throughout your life. Is there anyone else along the way that's giving way to a little bit of an influential jolt, if you will, along the way? Or
Absolutely. Prince is probably the number one. Um, not that it's you can hear it in my music, any Prince influence, or maybe you can, I don't know, but I just look to him as the be all end all, really, to playing every instrument on his records for the most part, producing his records, just basically a one man show, and along with the likes of, let's say, Lenny Kravitz, who's right in the same realm. I mean, little different, but so I'm drawn to that kind of a artist that can take on all the roles and produce something that's great.
it's interesting that you bring up Prince, because when you think Prince, like he's influenced so many different genres of bass players, right? It isn't just the pop guys. There's heavy metal, there's rock, there's blues. There's a lot of bass players in the different genres that I've talked to, and they seem to all reference Prince. What is it? What is it that what did he do that so many bass players look at him and go, that's a benchmark, that's an idol, that's somewhere that I want to be, or someone who I want to sound like, or pick something up from him, or what is that about Prince?
Well, when it comes to bass playing and Prince, I mean, he's a top-notch bass player. Um, he was really influenced by Larry Graham, and so you can hear that in his playing when he slaps, doing the pop slap stuff. Um, he's just an amazing bass player. I can even name someone like Richie Kotzen, who is an amazing bass player, um, but he's known as a guitar player. A
Right.
lot like Prince is known as one of the greatest guitar players of all time, but yet here he is, one of the greatest bass players under the radar. It's an interesting thing when you start talking multi-instrumentalists, because I personally know even people that you've never heard of that are multi-instrumentalists that are mind-blowing on every instrument. It's incredible. There's so much talent out there.
There is, and I get excited. The world becoming a little smaller in terms of what we're doing right now, right? Connecting through this social technology, and we're getting exposed to more and more of that talent. It's just jaw dropping to experience that and to meet so many talented people. And you're coming to us with your loads of talent. I want to your new single. You got a new single coming out, Bahia Sunshine. We're gonna get more into it in a bit. But before we do that, and a little tidbit for folks to stay tuned, because we're going to talk about Bahia Sunshine. But I wanted to cross the Y&T for some listeners, if you will. I know you're still part of the historic band Y&T, and pre-pandemic, there was an acoustic classics volume 1. I think that was around 2018, and then a documentary in 2019. Where do you sit with Y&T, the band, today?
Y&T is still very active now. Just to go back, back to the pandemic days of getting shut down, couldn't play. We had that to deal with, and then as we were coming out of that, Dave Meneketti, the sole surviving member of Y&T, the founding member, lead vocalist, legendary guitar player, um, he had a bout with prostate cancer directly coming out of the pandemic. So it was like a 1-2 punch for Y&T. So he had to take some time to deal with his health. He's, thank God, out of the woods, and a green light has been given by the doctor. So he's
Yeah.
in remission, and he is rocking and rolling. So Y&T is very active again. And actually, we just played last Saturday in Monterey, California. And we're coming up with, let's see, I think our next gigs are November 17th and 18th in Petaluma at the Mystic Theater, which we do every year. It's an annual thing, and they sell out every year. And then in 2024, it's the 50th anniversary of Y&T, and we are going to hit Japan. We're going
Oh
to hit
wow.
the UK. We're going to hit Europe, and we will also include all of the regional things that we do, around California and a little outskirts of Cali. So we're going to be very busy next year. And I'm really excited to get back out, like to do some road work, because it's been a while. We never got to catch that wave of extensive touring, since uh, 2020, So,
Yeah.
but we're back, man. We're here.
So is with the anniversary, is there a product coming out as well? Are we looking at a special album, or a look back, or anything like that while you're touring?
Well, no new music is planned. But you know, for us, like I said, it was just, let's say, getting back over to Europe. I mean, the last time we were there was in 2019. So
Yeah.
it's going to be exciting for the fans over there. Japan, same thing. It's been about 4 or 5 years since we've been to Japan, to Tokyo. So it's going to be really exciting for the fans and us. Just so that's the driving factor there.
Huge fan base, and looking forward to hearing more about that. Now, you being in Y&T was a bit of a dream come true for you. I understand that you became an instant fan, and you kind of talked about it a few questions ago when we first started out chatting here. But you first became a fan through their artwork, not necessarily their music. Can you tell us about that day in, was it 1982?
Yes, and I was at a Tower Records in Campbell, California. And back when, you can go and flip through albums and things, and I would, like everyone else, just be flipping through, and the artwork caught my eye. And I knew it was a rock record, but I loved the artwork. Turned it over and looked at the back of the album cover, and it just, for some reason, I got turned on by it. Took it home, pulled it out, and that was it. Instant fan. And then I got to see them live. It was with Dio. It was Dio, Y&T, and Dawkins at the Cow Palace in San Francisco for my 15th birthday. And that was it. I was all in for Y&T, man. Biggest fan.
That would be a killer show with all those bands there, and on your birthday at 15. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that, right?
Being New Year's
Uh,
Eve too. It
oh,
was New
no
Year's
way.
Eve. Yeah. So yeah, my birthday's New Year's Eve. There you go.
All right, I'm gonna at midnight. I'm sending you a happy birthday. No, who is this guy?
Uh,
Why is Guido messaging me at midnight? No, I won't. I promise. So you joined Y&T in 2016,
yes.
and Tesla's Frank Hannon. Does that help? Does he help that happen, or is there a connection with Frank there?
Yeah. Well, when I met Frank back in 2012, I joined his solo band. Tesla wasn't playing a whole lot at the time. He had a lot of solo dates and solo band stuff he was doing. So I ended up in his solo band for a few years. And then I think Frank was thinking ahead. He was, thinking, well, Tesla's about to get busy. Why don't you come work for Tesla? So I ended up being a guitar tech for Frank Hannon. Actually, I started out selling merch for Tesla. Then I moved over to the guitar tech side of it. And that really led to, just being in the, as I've mentioned, the right circle of people to, make connections and to meet people and just, let them know that you're available and what you do and, who you played with and things. It's just a networking thing, like it is with any business or any, sort of, um, artistic stuff too. It's really honestly who you know in the business. So with that, Y&T at one point needed a guitar tech, and the management called me, and I said, "Sure, let's. I would love to fondle Dave Meneketti's Les Paul, the famous legendary Les Paul." So I took on the job and did the tour for 30 days with them. And I get home, and about 2 or 3 weeks later, I get an email asking if I'd be interested in possibly joining the band. So, yes, long story very short, with a lot in between that, is when I met Frank, and then to that point, everything led to where I am right now. So, thank you, Frank Hannon from Tesla.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. Thank you for giving us Aaron Leigh in Y&T. So that's a pretty cool story. Fate, Aaron, fate.
I call it full circle. It's something that you start off doing because you love it anyway. You're young,
Yeah,
you don't think of too much that's coming before you. It's just a matter of just loving, let's say a certain music that turns you on, becoming a fan, having the posters on your wall, of the band that you love, and going to the concerts and all that. And next thing you know, you're in the band. And so it's sort of to me, a full circle. And I could have ended up in many bands, or who knows, but
yeah.
I ended up in one of my favorite bands of all time. And to be able to carry the torch for the mighty Phil Kennemore, who passed away, the bass player. I'm honored to be able to play this music and play these bass lines as close as I can to the original recordings, and just, keep the integrity of Y&T rolling along, man. I'm very proud of it.
You give me goosebumps, man. I gotta rub my arms when you say stuff like that, but it's a manifestation, eh? Like, and I'm just thinking to myself as you're going through it, I'm going, yeah, like just listening to that it's inspiring, it's hopeful, and just the manifestation of it having happened like that. Aaron, in an interview with Robbie Lochner, Jack Russell's Great White, you said, um, when you're aspiring to be in the circle, and you just mentioned the circle just now, when you're aspiring to be in the circle, and then you are in the circle with all these people you looked up to, you listen to all your life. When you're in the right circle of people, a lot more things can happen for you. And that's kind of what happened with me. Did you know you were in the circle when you were finally in the circle, or did that take some time?
When I was working for Tesla and we were out on the road with Def Leppard and Styx, I was meeting my heroes, people I listened to my whole life, and getting to have conversations with these people that are considered legends and hearing some of their backgrounds and stories and things. Um, of course, I knew I was in the right circle, but it doesn't really mean that anything's going to happen. For a guy like me, I mean, I was a guitar tech. I was a roadie in their eyes. It's not like anyone was looking at me going, "Hey, put that guy in a band." But it was a necessary step, a lily pad of sorts that I was jumping. I knew this wasn't the be all end all being in that situation, but I knew I was in the right place for the right time. And it did lead me to where I needed to be, like I mentioned.
Were you subtle about it? Were you like, as the guitar tech, were you just taking it all in at some points, or observing, absorbing, and
Yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, you're there to do a job, as any road tech knows. I mean, it's you got a lot on your plate during the day. So a lot of these things that, these people I get to hang out with or talk to is in passing. You're passing down the hallway, or they end up in a dressing room somewhere, or on the side of the stage even. So as you're working, and you get to have a quick chat, but they all knew, like on that particular tour, everyone knew that I was in Frank's solo band. They knew I played bass. They knew, certain things. I would, during sound checks and things like that, I'd be up there playing drums, bass, guitar, checking the keys, doing all. And so it was pretty obvious that I could play stuff. Um, but hey, look, when you're in that situation, like I said, you're there to do a job. It's not about you. But fortunately for me, it did turn out about me.
and congratulations, right? Congratulations. So now how do you view other artists? Like, you're in the circle, you're part of the circle. Like, if I was the road tech, I'd be looking at you like, holy man, Aaron Leigh, like I'm tacking for Aaron Leigh, right? Like, how do you look at the other, like, the artists that are doing that now? Different?
Um, let me reverse that. How do I look at, let's say, guys like the position I was in? I
Yeah.
have a lot of respect for those people. It's a hard job to be that, to be good at it. First of all, it's a lot of hours and just a hard job. So I've been on both sides, which is an interesting thing, that I've done all that over here, but now I'm on the other side of the fence. So I can see both ends, I just have a lot of respect for the other side of the business. So the other part of your question, I didn't understand really what the artists you were saying.
Yeah, like, if, as a road tech, or as a tech, I would imagine, uh I love playing guitar, and so there's a
Mhm.
little piece of me that looks at you and goes, geez, I wish I could play with Aaron on stage. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I could be part of that. And so if I'm an aspiring artist, and I'm looking to be in the circle, you know is that, how do I approach that with Aaron? And if I'm teching with you, like, do I
Well,
just be quiet and do my tech work, and maybe you notice me, playing a cool riff one day, and you go, hey, come play that
yeah,
over here. Mhm.
things like that happen all
Yeah.
the time. I mean, they can happen. It really depends, and this is what I've said many times, is that situations like mine that came about with Y&T, where I got to get in Y&T, these things don't happen every day. I mean, these aren't that common, of an experience to just, all of a sudden you're in your favorite band. Um, I can name a handful of people that's happened to that I know of. Um, but when I notice talent, I always approach and encourage. I always say never quit, no matter what, because I'll tell you what, if I quit on the times that I felt defeated or down and out, and
Yeah.
local band, cover band stuff, and just being gig by gig, and which is still true to to an extent. You're working your way out of a job a lot of times. When you're doing a gig, you better have something else lined up. But there's been times, and I'm sure there's a lot of musicians that can identify with the feeling defeated in a way and wanting to quit or hang it up. And I always say, don't ever do that, because you never know what's around the corner. You don't know what's coming. You just got to keep your head down and keep doing your work and do it the best you can. And, if you keep doing that, man, and it brings you enough joy and happiness, man, why quit?
Right. Yeah, good message. Why quit? Keep doing it. Keep manifesting, keep doing it. Um Thank you for just, giving some folks out there some inspiration and hope around that, Aaron. I think it's important, especially like, and I said today, with the advent of, yeah, we can bring more music and more talent to everybody because of the media and the interaction we have online. But it's also, we're bringing a lot more content, and there's a lot more to get through to hear the different sounds and talent that's out there. We've talked a fair bit here now about Y&T and sort of the band there, and you've taken your craft out as a solo artist as well. You've got 6 solo singles floating, in our music streaming channels. You're pumping them into our earbuds, and you're blasting through our car radio since about 2020, I believe, around then. And we've also enjoyed your self-titled EP with Insanity. You've got Tell Me, Jewel Eye Judy, Don't Say Goodbye. I think that was March 2021. And
Hmm.
now we've got your new single, Bahia Sunshine. Are we seeing the Aaron Leigh band? Is there something evolving that's bigger?
I've mentioned many times through these interviews, because of course that's a common question: is, are you going to
Yeah.
put a band together? Hey, look, if there's a want for it, and if there's promoters out there that are even interested in something like that, so that's what it comes down to, and because I need to be able to offer something to musicians, if I was to actually form a band with some guys to play my music,
Yeah.
I would just, I would want to be able to offer compensation, fair compensation, and without, getting too deep into the weeds with the business end of it, is, there's got to be some sort of demand. I do a lot of acoustic solo gigs here regionally in California, and a little outside of California once in a while. But between that and Y&T and just everyday life, man, I don't really have a lot of time to even go down that path yet. Now I will eventually. It's got to happen, but I just don't know when. And maybe it's just going to, require more writing and more adding to the catalog of songs to create even enough material. So just to have a little opening set somewhere and maybe get out on some package tour or something. I don't know. Who knows? Anything can happen, man. And I've experienced it. So anything can
Yeah,
happen.
you've got a catalog that's growing, and I think that, as fans go through that catalog and start listening to the song, and there's a bit of an evolution of your music happening. I know if I go to aaronleigh.com, and I'm looking over here at this other monitor here, it's a great site, and I was going to talk about that in a moment. But you've got all your singles there, and folks can listen to the clips. You can download them. They can even set their own price, which I love that. It was like, hey, download, and you can pick your price, right? Like, so if I listen to Bahia Sunshine, I'm like, man, and it is a hot tune, by the way. It's a hot little tune, and it's like, yeah, man, I want to give you $4 for that. I can give you $4 if I want to give you $4 for it, right? So
Yeah,
as
yeah,
opposed
yeah.
to
It's a
the
nice little option.
limitations.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
it's a nice option, and there's been some very, very generous people, which is very appreciated.
Right
As we
on.
know, as we know, with streaming now, musicians don't make unless you're a Taylor Swift or you're Metallica, you know, you're a big artist, man. They're the ones pretty much paying the bills over at Spotify right now. So, you know, little guys like me, man, you know, you're making not even a penny on you know, someone listening to your track. So most people know that, but then there's a lot of people that don't realize that. So when you allow people to appreciate your work, you know, it sometimes pays off. It's very nice and appreciated.
Yeah, and I think it makes it's kind of weird, but it's a bit more satisfying. Like it makes me feel better. Like if I can go onto the site and I can go, you know what, this song is worth more than 99 cents. Like there's a lot going. I really enjoyed this, and if I can give that little extra because you know what goes into it, I really like the option. And I'm seeing more and more artists going, hey, just come on over to my site. Like so, AaronLeigh.com. I'm gonna have that in the show notes so people can check it out. But I also noticed with all your other singles in your EP that fans can pick up an autographed version of your EP, and you have an autographed limited edition 7-inch vinyl of Insanity with Jewel Eye Judy on it as well. And the site has links to all your other social media platforms, so folks can figure out how they want to consume your stuff and how to engage with you. Is this like, and you look like a pretty creative guy outside of the music too. Is this your design, the site, or you have somebody helping you out, or?
No, you know, and that's another thing in this day of, you know, trying to be creative, be an artist, a musician. I've learned over time that I gotta not pay people to do stuff I can do myself. So I do pretty much everything when it comes to content, when it comes to
Nice.
recording, you know, I mean, the website, all of that is by my design. You know, I again, you know, being influenced by guys like Prince or Lenny Kravitz or something. You know, I see, you know, they have a lot of control. Even Bowie, you know, when he was alive, had a lot of control over his, uh, you know, his look of how he wanted to present his art, you know. So yeah, yeah, it's important to you know, try to maintain a I guess like a continuity in a sense, you know. I see sometimes, you know, things get too stray with some artists and you don't really kind of know what's going on, you know, and I don't want to be guilty of that.
No, and so I like the design. And earlier in our conversation, you were talking about the artwork when you talked about Y&T and falling in love with the artwork. And I was looking at your cover for Bahia Sunshine, the single, and I really liked the artwork there, and it's you could see it on my background, right? That's what we're looking at. But then as I'm going through your other singles, it looks like there's some thought and looking at the cover makes me think and solicits some other emotions or what's going on or what's this scene about. It isn't just your name on a slab of blue or black or whatever it is. So just some appreciation for the extra effort in the artwork that you're putting out in the singles. But I like seeing that stuff. So
Yeah, yeah.
you
Me
know
too, man. That's, you
yeah.
know, what that's why you know, I basically make what I want to see, I guess, you know.
Yeah, you're a fan of the own product too, which is important. I think you got to be a little bit, right? So
Yeah, you gotta be proud of what you're putting
yeah,
out, you know? I mean,
absolutely.
if I wasn't proud of what I was doing, it would just sit there and then, you know, I'd shelf it, you know? And there's many times that does happen, you know? But sometimes, as they say, lightning strikes or whatever, you know, it's like, all right, well, I think this is gonna be able to be consumed by the world. Why not throw it out there and see what happens? You know, look, I make music because I love to make music. There's no expectations on my end. I'm not expecting to be some big star. Trust me. But I do really enjoy creating and making and recording music, mixing music, down to the mastering end of it, all the way through the end of the production. And when I can sit back and be proud of it, then I'm ready to share it with everyone.
Yeah, satisfaction for the end product and the final product as we consume it with you. Bahia Sunshine, I've said it a few times. If we can dissect it a little bit, correct me if I'm wrong. Bahia, is that Spanish for bay?
Well, yes, and I didn't know that. You know, when I came up with this title, the title Bahia Sunshine, the name Bahia the way I learned about the name was when I was about 5 years old. There was a little girl that lived down the street from me who was my age. Her name was Bahia, and that name stuck with me forever just because I thought it was pretty, and
Yeah.
it conjured up imagery in my head. And so when I put sunshine at the end, it's kind of, to me, metaphoric for higher power in a sense. Spiritual higher power could be. Some of the lyrics even kind of stray off into that world. But I didn't realize at first, yes, it means bay, which I guess makes sense with the sunshine. That's great. I got lucky there. There's also in Brazil, there is a state called Bahia, which I didn't know. And maybe I'll have a big hit in Bahia, Brazil. Who knows?
I was just gonna is yeah, are the folks in Bahia Brazil gonna eat this up, right? They're gonna be like, hey, it's about us, right? So
Yeah, yeah, it could be their anthem. Who knows? But and then I also learned too that there's such a thing called the Bahia Faith, which I have to look up and delve into a bit because I'm not familiar with that. I've never even heard of it.
that's just like, I don't know, karma or something, all this stuff coming together at the right time, all these meanings and stuff. And so I was going to say to you, are we talking about a Bay Sunshine? Like, did you see this thing and say, oh, I'm going to write about this Bay Sunshine? Or was it a metaphor for a person or something else? And it ends up being a little girl from your childhood.
Yeah, yeah, her name was Bahia, and then somehow in my mind I just had this idea of a metaphoric feeling of the imagery of higher power.
There, speaking of higher power, you've got a line in the song, and do we take anything away from the line, look for the seventh sign? And the number seven has biblical references. It's in the constellations and mythology, etc. What's the seventh sign in the song?
I don't even want to talk about that. That can be up to the listener. That can
Leaving creative expression.
I know what it means to me, and I don't really, want to tarnish anyone else's thought or opinion. They can
Okay.
have you can make sense out of it, I guess, in your own mind of what it means to you.
I love when artists say and do that, Aaron, because it just becomes a conversation in perpetuity. What do you think it means? What do you think it means? Right? And it's cool. It's cool. I like that. So, um, look, I don't think or read too much into the lyrics when I hear Bahia Sunshine. There's a few things like that that caught my attention, but for me, the song it's just got a fun melody to it. It makes me feel like summer. I wanna go watch the sunrise. I want to have a citrus drink. I don't care if people out there think I'm fruity for it or whatever you want to call it. I like fruity drinks. They're all right. The song gives me positive vibes. I feel like I'm listening to something modern, but then I feel like I'm listening to rock. There's this progressive rock element to it. Maybe even there's some moments of light punk or something, and you got these tasty little hooks, and you just make it all work. And like I listen to your other stuff, and it's a little bit different than some of your other stuff. It's I don't want to say lighter, but it's got this lighter feel to it. What's going on musically? If not lyrically, what's going on musically with the song?
Well, musically, it was sort of coming from a vibe of Bowie with the synthesizers. The song was written on an acoustic guitar. So, if you can only imagine how stripped down and almost folky in a way that it sounded when I first started writing it.
Huh.
And that was probably the biggest struggle musically, was trying to figure out how the arrangement was going to be, what instruments I was going to use
Oh,
for, because I already knew the parts. I already knew the bridges and how things were going to flow. It's just what instruments was I going to use? Was I just going to be typical with the just guitar, bass, drums? Well, of course that's there, but then adding some synthesizers to it just to give it a little more texture and color, I think helped. It definitely adds some of those, what you're saying, hooks, could be hooks.
yes, yeah.
um and the background vocals, the harmonies, it was sort of influenced by some like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. I mean, actually, the whole time I was trying to construct the production, I was thinking Lucy in the Sky with
Oh,
Diamonds.
no.
and then, with that T-Rex vibe of the beat, the groove, it's kind of got that kind of a bang a gong kind of feel, Um, yeah, there's some ELO, some Jeff Lynne that I was kind of channeling with the guitar, double guitar leads, just yeah, things like that were definitely floating around.
If that's the first Aaron Leigh song I've ever heard, I would just buy the rest of your stuff. Like it was just like that's the level. It reminded me of my younger teenage days, right? And I you just go to the store and I just look at the artwork on the album and I'd buy the album just based on the artwork and I just take it home and just listen to stuff for hours. And so first I liked your artwork and I was like, oh, this artwork looks cool, drew me in. Then I listened to the song and I'm like, give me the rest. I need the rest. I need the rest of the singles. So let's roll with this, So
Well, thank you.
yeah,
I appreciate that, Guido. Thank you so much.
loving the song, Aaron. Can folks hear you play Bahia Sunshine? Are you got some live shows going on?
Well, yeah, like I said, I do a lot of acoustic solo shows around here in California, which mainly consists of what I refer to as vintage rock and roll. So I do a lot of covers of artists, my favorite artists. So basically, I say to the audience, I'm going to play what I like, and hopefully you like it too. And that's where we start. And I'll just play for 2 hours straight of some of my favorite songs. Um, and I have been lately incorporating my own music in there. A lot of times in that kind of environment, people don't want to hear your music. They want to hear
Right.
stuff they've heard before, right? So, I give them that, but now I'm starting to be a little more, I guess, I'm more aware that there's more people coming to these gigs that do and want to, they're more interested in hearing some of my solo stuff. So I am incorporating it. Uh, I guess jumping ahead, let's say November 17th when Y&T plays at the Mystic in Petaluma, November 17th, I'll be opening the show. So I'm opening for my own band.
Oh, right
and
on.
I and I will be doing an all original set. I'm going to play everything, but it's all going to be acoustic. I'm going to have one other guy with me and we're going to do them acoustic style, but they're going to rock, man. It's going to be cool.
A little bit of unplugged.
Yes, yes, and hopefully, get some video of it and document it and maybe put it out there on my YouTube channel or something.
I'm looking forward. So November 17th, you open up for your own band with your all original set. It's going to be acoustic. We're going to look for that, and hopefully we can remind folks to check it out on YouTube when you do the release there. Look, I know your time is precious. I respect and appreciate that you came on to chat with me. And before I let you go, Aaron, is there anything else that you'd like to leave us with before you take off?
Oh, well, I do have a lyric video coming out on August 14th. Hopefully what we're doing here will be out before then, and let people know that I will be doing a Facebook Live 7 p.m. on Monday, August 14th, for the lyric video for Bahia Sunshine, which it's a fun video. It's very psychedelic. It'll definitely be some eye candy, and you get to just rock with the song and get some imagery, and it's a lot of fun to watch. So I'll be doing that, and I'll do a Q&A, short little Q&A after the video plays. We could talk about the video or just whatever people want to talk about.
Right on. So it's on Facebook Live at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or for us out here in the East, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That'll be on Bahia Sunshine. It's your premiere for your lyric video. And then after that, you'll be available for Q&As, right? We got it
Yeah.
right?
Yep, that's it.
All right, man. We're going to look forward to that, and we're going to look to put this out and even just send out a few extra messages so folks can check it out and book it in their calendars. I'm a little bit pumped. So hopefully I'll be on there too, Aaron. Look, thank you so much. This is Aaron Leigh, and while he's Y&T, he's also our Bahia Sunshine. His new single available on aaronleigh.com and now playing on the pathradio.com internet radio. Please send in your request to hear more Aaron Leigh, and we'll get Jewel-Eyed Judy, to tell me your request as together we live for today as children of the revolution and get away from the insanity with some great melodies and music. I will have Aaron's website and social media info on the show notes. Thank you again, Aaron. I hope to chat with you again, and take care.
Thanks, Guido. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.